Alright, so this is going to be the most important yet controversial video on this channel. Today we're doing the white people tier list. That's right, the white people tier list. As you can see here, I've got an assortment of white people. We have the Italians, the Russians, the Danish, the Polish, the Austrians, the Scottish, the French, the Germans, the Irish, the Swedish, the Finnish, the English, the Swiss, the Dutch, and the Norwegians. And obviously, before I start, I just want to say this is a joke. Don't take anything I'm saying seriously. I'm just having some fun, just poking some fun at some of these guys. So yeah. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started with this video. We're gonna go alphabetically here, starting with the Austrians. The Austrians. And they're gonna go into the D tier. So they're basically the same thing as Germans, right? They're just kind of copycats, if I'm being honest. Um, and also, like, this was kind of the birthplace of Hitler, so yeah, we need to make sure they stay away from the top, okay? And Austria-Hungary was cringe. I'm more of a Prussia guy myself, but to each his own, I guess. Up next is the Danish, and they're gonna go into the E tier. I don't really know too much about the Danish, but every Swedish YouTuber I've ever watched has said that they're not good. So I guess maybe they have a point. Although one thing I did research like right before I recorded this, it just crossed my mind like, hey, did the Danish invent the Danish? And they didn't. They literally didn't. It came from Austria. So like, you got to knock them down a peg for that, I guess. Alright, up next is the Dutch, and they're gonna go into the D tier with the Austrians. Now, this might be a bit of a controversial pick, and I'll explain why. Firstly, they wear those weird shoes. You know the ones I'm talking about. Secondly, they had all these colonies. They had New Amsterdam, they had the Dutch East Indies, they had New Holland, New Zealand, and then they just lost it all because, like, they went broke or something, or their country was sinking. So they're like, oh, we need to get rid of these colonies. Like, bro, you gotta take the L on that. Um, and now all they have left is like just like a couple islands in the Caribbean. Although Aruba is one of my favorite places to go to. I genuinely do love Aruba. Up next, we have the English, and the English are going to go into the C tier here. Um, well, say what you want about the British Empire, but you got to admit they really kind of went all out. They kind of just went to town with the whole colonization game. The Anglosphere is just insane. Like, so many countries that you wouldn't even expect to speak English actually speak English, and it's because of Britain. And again, say what you want about that. But the English are pretty snobby, not gonna lie. They can be pretty uppity. Not as uppity as some other people on this list, but they can be pretty uppity. Not to mention, uh, the King Henry VIII. He split from the Catholic Church just because he wanted to divorce his wives, which is cringe. So, and I mean, yeah, they're Protestants, so gotta knock them down that one. Finnish up next are the Finnish, and they go into the C tier with the British, or the English rather. The Finns, you gotta give them credit. They fought back super hard against the Russians, both for independence and in World War II when the Russians invaded. And you gotta give them credit for that one. And not to mention, they invented the sauna, and Finlandia is one of my favorite pieces of classical music. And if you haven't listened to it, then like you haven't lived yet. It's such an amazing piece. Although they are Lutheran, so we got to put them in the C tier. Unfortunately, they would be higher if they weren't Lutheran. Up next is the one, the only, the French, and this one shouldn't be a surprise here. They go in the F tier. So I don't really think I need to explain this one, but I'm gonna go ahead and do it anyway. The French are rude, especially in Paris. Parisians are very, very rude to tourists. What else? They can't pronounce the letter R. Their language in general is just a mess. It doesn't even make any sense. They smell bad, and they eat snails. They literally eat snails, so that should be enough to tell you that they belong way below the F tier, probably in like the shadow realm. But the only thing keeping them out of the shadow realm is that they're Catholic, and even then, not as much as they used to be. So up next are the Germans, and they're going to go into the B tier here. So the Germans, obviously, they have like some of the best beer. They really do. and also the Autobahn. One thing one thing that I really like about the Autobahn is all the sections that have no speed limit. I seriously wish we had that in America. I I I seriously want that. I'm not even joking. Some of the speed limits, some of the speed limits in this country, in America, just don't make any sense. You know, sometimes they're too high, sometimes they're too low. A lot of times they're too low, especially on highways. You know, people are going like 80, 85 and like a 65-mile-an-hour speed limit. It's like, well, everybody's already going this fast and nobody's getting pulled over, so why not just raise the speed limit, you know? But we can't do that, no. And, you know, some Germans are Catholic, some Germans are Protestants, so, you know, we'll put them in the B tier. They're all right. And strangely enough, a lot of Americans nowadays, a lot of white Americans have German ancestry, which is interesting because we used to be from, you know, we came from the British. So, up next is the Irish. And this, again, no surprises here. This one goes in the S tier. Um, the Irish are the best. Very clearly, we're the best. Yes, I'm part Irish, so obviously I have no biases here. But again, you know, we're Catholic mostly. We fought back against the British a bunch of times. We had the whole car bomb thing, which is awesome. But yeah, I don't know what else to say. The Irish are just the best, you know. And you know, we're Celtic, and apparently there's more Irish people in America than there are in Ireland, which is kind of funny. Because you know the whole potato famine thing. But yeah, Irish are the best. If you disagree, then you're wrong. You need to reassess yourself. Um, Up next, this might be another strange. This might be a strange pick for me coming as an Irish person, but the Italians are going to go in the A tier. Yeah, like you would think I'd put the Italians lower, but no. First of all, they're Catholic, which is awesome. I mean, you would really think, like, oh, you're an Irish person, you wouldn't like the Italians. I don't know. I guess if you just watch enough Martin Scorsese movies, like Mean Streets and Goodfellas, it just kind of grows on you. The whole like, you know, gritty Italian kind of thing. I love the Italians, but they need to know that the Irish are better. So I challenge any Italian person. No weapons, none of that. Just your bare hands. Bring your bare hands, and we'll see how long you last. Next up are the Norwegians, and they're going to go in the E tier. I mean, they're basically the same thing as the Danish, right? I mean, you know, they were part of Denmark as well. The only difference being, apparently, is that they slap some blue on their flag, and they're like, hey, new country! Yeah, sure, buddy. Can all see right through that. And they're Lutheran, right? Yeah, Lutheran as well, so. Up next are the Polish. And they're going to go, of course, in the A tier. The Polish, obviously they're Catholic, which is awesome, and like during World War II, their occupation, they technically never surrendered to either the Nazis or the Soviets. So you got to give them credit for that. Just like the Finns, who you know, resisted the Russians. And speaking of the Russians, they are going to go into the C tier along with the Finns. So you know, they can keep themselves company there. Every Russian I've ever met, like, they just don't care. They literally just march to the beat of their own drum. They don't care what anybody else thinks. And like that's honestly just awesome. The Russian language is pretty cool to listen to as well. Um, Although, you know, they were communists, so we gotta make sure that they don't get anywhere near the top. But yeah, and also they have like they're the biggest country in the world, so you know, like literally they're bigger than the planet Pluto. Up next are the Scottish, and the Scottish are going to go in the B tier along with the Germans. The Scottish, they're very similar to the Irish, so you know we have to give them respect we have to give respect to our brothers and put them in the B tier. They would be in the A tier if they were Catholic, but unfortunately they're not. And Braveheart's a pretty cool movie, so tier for the Swedish or Scottish. The Swedish are also going to go into the B tier. The Swedish, you know, they actually had a huge empire way back in the day, you know, with Charles the Sixth, right, the Sixth or 12th, whatever it was. So yeah, we got to give them respect. They control basically all of like the Baltic Sea, and not to mention, you know, as much of a meme as IKEA is, they actually do have quite good furniture. Like I've been using IKEA furniture for years, and you know, only like I actually have to try to break it. You know, it doesn't just break on its own. I have to try to break it. And also, they have meatballs at IKEA, so that's pretty cool. And obviously, they're not Catholic, so we have to put them in the B tier. Unfortunately, they would be higher if they were. And last but not least, we have the Swiss. This one shouldn't be a surprise. They go in the middle here in the C tier because you know they've been neutral for like a million years. So I guess technically I can't really say anything about them. I guess if I had to, they're the same as Germans. They're really rich as well, and they're pretty loose on gun laws, even though America's a lot more looser. Um, but yeah, still. So that is the official white people tier list. Again, just remember if you disagree, then you're incorrect. Please reassess yourself. This is the only acceptable tier list for white people. Um, and yeah, that's just about it. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.